Hey folks, Brian and Michelle Flickinger, Team Flick. Another episode of Flick Knows. We're on episode 18 here. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about warrantable versus non-warrantable properties and what that means for you and why you should use a local lender. We had a client this week ask us why we're being so pushy towards using a local lender, and the answer is we're not really being pushy, but we just want the deal to go as smoothly as possible for you. And local lenders know which properties are warrantable and non-warrantable up here. And it's very different buying in Summit County, buying a condo in Summit County than it is buying a single family home on the Front Range or elsewhere in the country. So there's a lot of nuance to it. There's some lingo there, and we just wanted to run you through a couple of things to be looking for and what that means to be warrantable and non-warrantable.
So yeah, warrantable versus non-warrantable are some guidelines set forth by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and they basically tell you whether or not they will underwrite a loan on a property. Some of the most common ones that we are seeing is if there's 20% or more of the units owned by one entity. Another one that we're seeing is condos that are with more than 15% of the units behind 60 days or more on their HOA dues. A big one up here is commercial space. So if there's more than 35% commercial space in a building, then you might have some issues with lending on that. And that's where we see that a lot, is when there's commercial space on the first floor and then residential all above it. Two more is if your project's under litigation, obviously there's going to be some complications with that. And then if more than 50% of the units are not owner occupied. And so that's not more than 50% of the people living up here full time. That is making sure that when the property was put into title, that it was put in as a second home versus a rental property.
Yeah, and a couple others that we see here in Summit County that are very unique to Summit County, the short-term rental market and the vacation destination, is what's called the condotel. Front desks at a condo property. A lot of lenders don't really know what to do with that, because they're like, am I landing on a hotel with a front desk, or am I landing on a condo property? So it's important that they're aware of which properties those are ahead of time. And also, we've run into an issue before with like a studio property over in the Keystone area. Doesn't have a full kitchen. It has kind of like a little kitchenette area in it. Mm-hmm. And whether or not they can lend on that. And that has to do with some of the overlays that lenders put on their properties.
Yeah, so aside from the Fannie and Freddie guidelines, lenders will put their own overlays on those guidelines, which will further restrict what they can lend on. And so what Brian mentioned, that the kitchenette thing can be an issue. But that's something that your lender will know in advance if you're working with a local lender, whether they can do a loan on that property, because they've already seen that property. So they've already filled out a condo questionnaire. They know whether it's going to meet their guidelines. And that's why we like to work with those local lenders, is because you'll know on day one, before you even write the contract, if they can write a loan on the property. Whereas with an outside lender, you have to go through a whole questionnaire period, and it can take multiple weeks and run you up until almost a week before closing. And then you find out at that point that they can't do the loan.
Right. So if you wanted to hear more from us, or you want to know what local lenders we recommend, hit us up at teamflick@summitliving.com as always. If you're looking for the latest listings and most up-to-date connection to our MLS system, go to flickrealestate.com. It updates like every 10 minutes or so. And as always, we'll see you next week for another episode of Flick Knows.